And then also what social media and what we're seeing within your age group and in our county is peer recruitment. And so a tactic of the pimps, and I kind of mentioned it, is they'll get people under their control to go out and recruit for them. And within your age group and the C-sec children, and those are the commercially sexually exploited children that we work with, the ages that we're coming into contact with them, they're about 12 to 17 years old. And so when I say that they're in your age group, they are, and they're in our schools. And so the pimp will use peer recruitment, and he will have them use the means of social media to get on there and help him find his next prey and kind of get his victims under their control. So when all the adults or when people around you remind you or try to teach you about internet safety, it's really, really, really important on so many levels. And I think that when we think about how sometimes something can be such a scary thing, that when people come and hopefully try to teach you and spread awareness, that we're not scaring you, because when you're scared, you really don't know what to do. And it doesn't really help you learn. Hopefully what you do is you take away the awareness and you learn, wow, these people are out there. That it's not just my mom or my dad or my teacher saying, don't get on the internet and befriend bad people. There's bad people out there. It's true, because like law enforcement will say, like I will say, and I work directly with victims, is this is really how they're going about it. And so don't be scared of it, just be smart. And when you're on the social media or you're on the internet, just make sure that if you ever have a feeling or you get that little feeling in your stomach or on the back of your neck, something's not right, kind of follow it and reach out. And whether you're talking to an adult or a safe person or to law enforcement, really, I encourage you to really not just think, oh, it's just social media. And the same thing is, like also Loris had said, if you ever see anything else, people on the internet or on social media, they can be very in your face. And so at first it can be confusing, like, oh, they couldn't be talking about this because it's too obvious. But that oftentimes is exactly what they're doing. So thank you for being here, for taking the time today, and I encourage you to make lots of friends that are in person and be just a little more careful when you're maybe making friends that are on the internet.
What's exciting tonight is that we have a local outreach group, we have local police involved, and that's where this stuff really works, is when you have a lot of stakeholders. My background, I'm an educator by trade, and then this kind of took off. I Can Help is a program a friend and I developed with our students. It was actually created working with middle school and high school students, and really kind of taking a different approach to what's going on the internet. So what is the appeal of social media? And that's the first rule. Social media is social. It allows us to connect with people, it allows us to share experiences, and it allows us to follow our passions, connect with people who maybe share our same hobbies all over the web at a bigger scale. And what's changed a lot of it, we'll kind of dive in here. So who are we? So I mentioned I Can Help, so we're part of the Net Safety Collaborative, so it's ourselves and I Can Help line. We also have a social media helpline for schools. So any school in the US can contact us on our 800 number. These are all the companies we work with. We work with Facebook, we work with Twitter, and Google, Instagram, Snapchat, Ask, Tumblr, YouTube, Kick, Musical.ly. So we're on their safety advisory board. So these are companies we can contact directly if something funky is going on online and can get content removed. So I Can Help, this is our 4th year, as I mentioned, started working with high school students and middle school students, and kind of from there evolved all over the United States. So looking at our kids, first a myth. The belief that our kids are technologically savvy. It is a huge lie perpetrated by the fact that if we give a technology device to a small child and they don't drop it and push buttons randomly and something happens, we're like, oh my God, they're so smart. They pushed some buttons and look, it made noise. This is incredible. Here's the reality. Just social norms have changed. Think about where people used to connect. Where were the hangouts? Where did you spend time with your friends? And the idea is, you know, smartphones are a weird thing. They haven't been around 10 years yet. Realize around 2008 you had the first iPhone, about 9 years ago. You had the social media, maybe 20 years old, 30 years old, early, mass appeal, early 90s with AOL. How many had like AOL Instant Messenger? Right? I now know how old you are.
Yeah.
So
all the old people.
What's changed is not that our kids are not interacting, it's the fact that how they're choosing to interact with their world has changed. This phone is becoming a part of their life, how they connect with friends, how they maintain those relationships, and sometimes it becomes very tenuous and it can become very stressful. Why does that happen? So here's a photo, this went viral last year. And I was actually out of Norway, and so they're at the Amsterdam at the Van Gogh Museum, and so there's a painting there. And it was part of a newspaper article. What someone did is they took this photo out, they put it on Facebook and made a comment about our kids today. Here they are at this beautiful museum staring at one of the most amazing photos, paintings ever made in the history of the world, and all they can do is stare at their screens. Blew up on Facebook, millions of views. Everyone coming on there going like, kids are dumb, they're just on their phones. What they ignored was the fact that these kids were actually participating in this interactive tour of the museum. They were learning about the painting through an app on the phone that guides them and gives them background information on every single painting. Here's the same group of kids in the same museum 10 minutes later. But we've become ingrained with the fact that our students, our youth, your kids are so connected to their device that they can't turn it off. And it's just not true. And so if we can change how we're looking at these devices, if we can change the fact that our current generation, they're using these devices to interact and see their world, it really changes our perspective on how these are now a tool that help us learn, help us connect, help us communicate, and can make a lot of good things happen. There's still the bad, there's still the things to be concerned about, there's all those worries. The best analogy I can give you, if kids are getting hit by cars, we teach kids how to cross the street, we don't ban cars. There's risk in anything your children do, but the reality is if we can give them the right tools, if we can show them the right path and model and blah, 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 good things are going to happen. You teach your kids with kindness, you raise them with kindness, they're going to exhibit that kindness. We talked a little bit about this. So Facebook, they're up to 1.7 billion daily users. YouTube, 500 hours of video are posted every day. If you have time to watch that, good on you. 600 million on Instagram, you have 313 million on Twitter, you have over 100 million users that post something like 9,000 videos an hour, something crazy like that. Also, almost 50% of youth, so 50% of 13 to 35-year-olds are on Snapchat. It's one of the fastest growing social media networks in the world right now. Since we touched on this, cyberbullying. The most comprehensive study on cyberbullying came out this past December, Cyberbullying Institute. So if you want to know some good facts, we'll get those out of the way. But basically, they estimate that about 5.4 million students skip school at some point during the year due to bullying, over 500,000 multiple times. The thing that's frustrating about this is I kind of think we already know this. And if you see, we have the character counts up here. We know kids are getting hit with this, be kind, treat people with kindness. It starts in kindergarten. My daughter's in first grade. She came home character counts was at our school today. It was amazing. I'm like, well, that's so cool. And she starts telling me about the speaker and the presenter. So we know kids are getting hit with this message. The challenge is they're not connecting this message to action, either in school or online. And so we're trying to bridge that gap. About bullying, a little bit of a myth. Bullying still exists. It's out there. Children's Network, they did a survey back in 2011, found out that bullying both online and offline has gone down, but if kids are being bullied in school, chances are they're also being bullied online. It's about 30%. Okay, when it comes to sexting, I know we've kind of talked about that. There's really no good data on that. If you watch the news, you're convinced that every child in the world is doing something naughty online. And it just freaks you out. You want to lock the phone in the closet and put it in the corner with the dunce cap for being a bad kid. This is where you belong, in the corner, stay away. But the reality is that's not true. And actually what we found in most cases, kids are doing the right thing online. They are doing positive things online. But we're not talking about that. With our helpline, we've seen all kinds of pages from inappropriate photos to couples to harassment. To date, with the help of students, we managed to get over 600 pages taken down off the internet. And those are the ones that we know about, because a lot of times we'll get a message, hey, this page is up posting this information, and the kids are smart enough that they've already reported it, and the page is down before we can look at it, because they know what to do. And that's what we want to do. We want to give students the tools they need to be successful online. Okay, here's an example of a student. She actually met this person through a group chat. Okay, so who are any group texters in here? Any of my students group texters, massive group texters? That only gets annoying when we get to 20 people and they all respond to the same thing, that whole table apparently? And through one of these group text messages, one of the students said, hey, I really like you, can we have our own conversation? They had their own conversation. He started asking her some really appropriate questions. Now in this case, what was really special about this situation is she's like, I don't know what to do, so she went and asked her mom. And her mom says, here how you should respond to that. And I love this line, he says on the bottom, says, okay, but you should tell me, I won't say anything or judge you, ha-ha. I love the ha-ha. And we kind of touched on earlier, but it's this idea of how good people are manipulating you and making you feel bad for doing something that doesn't make them feel better. And what we talk about, here's the reality, and this is, for the students in the room, If someone cares about you, they will never ask you to do, say anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. If they care about you, it's just not going to happen. If they are, they're not your friend. Laws to be aware of. There was a new law passed in California this past November around cyberbullying, so there's something to be aware of. Here's the great thing about passing laws in California. There's absolutely no money for schools to enforce this law. But the expectation is that schools will develop policies around cyberbullying and around sexting and other issues. So talking with your school board, talking with your school admin, seeing that people are taking appropriate steps. But you want to be aware of this. Here's a former student. Any Blues Clues in here? We're starting to get a little young for that. So if you notice, this is a former student, middle school student. She was in 8th grade at the time. If you see, depending on how close you are, but she has some Coors Light cans laying around her, but she's holding a Sprite can. At this point, she had 96 likes. The caption reads, "Rough night, RUFF." I guarantee you it's not a shout out to dogs. She's holding the Sprite can. When we talked to her on Monday after this photo was posted, she got very defensive. Like, well, you know I don't drink. Like, we know that. But what about these people? This point is up to 160 likes. And all I have to do, most of you, who knows what I got to do to find out who liked this photo? What do I have to do? Tap the like button. Air 5. Tap the like button. We can see everyone liked this. One of the people who liked this photo was a 4th grade neighbor. And we asked her about it. The basic story is this. Her parents were having a party. She got asked to take out the recycling. The bag broke. And she thought it'd be funny to lay down and take a picture, but wanted to hold the Sprite can. That was her message, that I don't drink. I guarantee you Sprite did not contact her the next day going like, "Look, we love the photo. Here's $20,000, do more." Like, it didn't happen. And so the idea is, you know, in her case, we had the question, would you rather have 100 pennies or 4 quarters? Do you want to have 4 really good friends or 100 people who kind of know you? And it's the idea that who you are online is who you should be in real life. And who you are in real life is who you should be online. And anything else is fake. And in this case, this was not who she really was. One of the people who liked this photo was her neighbor in the 4th grade. Does she know that you don't drink? And so it's that messaging, it's that branding, it's creating that digital footprint, making those choices. Just last summer, I had a former student. She's going into the summer of her senior year, applying for colleges. And there's a photo online with her stepdad holding some bottle of gin and a bottle of tequila. Some random comment, awkward smile on her face, and her mom took the photo and encouraged her to post it. And it's one of those moments, there's 2 reactions you can go. One, you could be that horrible parent going like, "You're the worst person ever, why would you make your daughter post that? You're all evil." Or, I just sent her a quick direct message, said, "Hey, I don't know if this is the photo you want online. I get what you're trying to do, but do you want to have this up on your social media?" Message back, "Hey, thanks for sharing that. That's kind of how I felt. I'm going to go ahead and take it down." Because again, people just don't know. This is still very new. Okay, I mean, Twitter just turned 10. So these are new areas, new things that are happening all the time. So every year, if athletics is your thing, every year there are athletes who lose out on scholarships because of what's posted on social media. Okay, there are athletes, they lose out on scholarship opportunities because of what's posted on social media. Even if you don't, if athletics isn't your thing, academics, if you were applying to college, last year Social Assurity did a study that said 60% of colleges actually researched social media profiles to find out what was on students' social media accounts, deciding whether or not they're going to accept them. And they just had an article that came out from recruiters for colleges that said if you apply for a scholarship, we are most definitely going to look at your social media profile. Okay, so people are paying attention. They want to know which one is the real you. Well, how do we know this? If you look up here, social intelligence is a program that companies use. Everything you use to apply for a job, your name, your address, your phone number. They then take that information and they do a search on public profile and they assign you a risk. They look at violent behavior, drugs, drug lingo, poor judgment, gangs, photos and text. And if you're a business owner or ever applied for a job in the great state of California or the United States, you know that you don't have to give a person a reason why you're not offering them an interview. You just say, "Thank you very much, keep going." Okay, so people are starting to pay attention. Where this became a reality, I had a former student who came into class, and even adults, you have that one friend that you share jokes with that only the 2 of you get? "You're dumb." "No, you're dumb." "Let's get lunch." And if anyone else heard these jokes, you'd be like, "You need help."